Welcome to the 8th video in my Hearts of Iron 4 United States playthrough. My name is Ripkin and it's the 31st of March 1941. In the previous video I was able to make a paradrop into Berlin, and I did get a weird event. Well, I don't know if it's weird, but it's one I'm not familiar with. A dark and savage journey. I still don't know what that means. Anyway, in this video I'm going to customize my armies a little bit more, and I want to delete the front line I have drawn under Eisenhower and draw more army specific front lines. For instance, I want General Patton pushing the northern coastline of the German Reich, taking Danzig. I also want Omar Bradley assisting in the paradrop in Vienna. Mark Clark is going to push towards Rome, and Courtney Hodges is going to be responsible for eradicating the Italian forces from southern France. And the reason I want to draw smaller army or general specific front lines is I want my armies to take those victory points, and hopefully I can leverage myself more in the peace agreement when the war with the Axis powers has concluded. The other thing I'd like to get done in this video is come up with my naval composition and see how well it does for me. And definitely feel free to let me know how you play the naval side of things. It's my first go at it, so I definitely have some learning to do, and hopefully it works out. Although I have done some research, so hopefully I know enough that I'm not going to completely embarrass myself in this video, but we'll see. This is going to be a relevant event because Qing China has joined the Allies. That used to be Manchukuo. They were allied with Japan. They then declared war on Japan. I know I misspoke of them in the previous video. I said they declared war on China and I called them Qing China. But Qing China has now joined the Allies. That's going to give us an in to a war with Japan. Once I get these naval forces ready, I will have to join into that to stop the Japanese from taking Dutch East Indies and other Pacific islands. And it's time to go over my fleet composition, starting at the top with my advanced mine warfare mine laying under Admiral Stark. I've got 2 fleets. These compose of 2 light cruisers and 18 subs. Remember, the light cruisers the United States starts with. I have do not engage toggled and automatic split off, which I need to change on my Atlantic fleets. My Atlantic fleets are engage at medium risk. I'm going to up that to always engage and give them the Mediterranean to work in. My Atlantic fleets are currently convoy rating, and we can take a look at Admiral Jack Fletcher's skills. And this is USS Fleet 4, convoy rating in the Mediterranean, African coast, Iberian coast, and Bay of Biscay. So we do have somewhat of a battleship fleet. It's got 1 battleship, 1 heavy cruiser, 2 light cruisers, and 14 destroyers. I think they're all Farragut class destroyers. Nothing too modern. His patrol fleet, which is convoy rating as well as a heavy cruiser, light cruiser, and 8 destroyers. One of them is a Gleaves class destroyer. My white fin icons are my newer subs that are convoy rating, and my green fin are old subs, and they are convoy rating in the highlighted sea zones. Moving on to the Pacific Theater or Pacific Fleets, I need to change the name of this. So these are all my Pacific fleets, starting with USS Fleet 1 under Admiral King. You can see his skills. And this is the United States Battle Fleet 1, which has 2 carriers, 6 battleships, including the pride of the fleet. I'm just going to hit OK to that. 4 heavy cruisers, 5 light cruisers, and 43 destroyers. As far as the light cruisers go, we do have Atlanta and St. Louis class in there, and destroyers a mix of Farragut and Gleaves class. And they are repairing right now. And they will be operating in the South China Sea and the Philippine Sea on a strike force order. I'm not going to do that now because they are repairing. And next, Admiral Nimitz. This is USS Fleet 2. United States Battle Fleet 2. You can see his skills. Admiral Nimitz is going to have 2 carriers, 6 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, 4 light cruisers, 35 destroyers. Again with Atlanta class and St. Louis class light cruisers, Farragut and Gleaves class destroyers. He's also going to be on strike orders in the Philippines and South China. USS Fleet 3 is under Admiral Halsey. This is United States Battle Fleet 3 with 1 carrier, 3 battleships, 4 heavy cruisers, 4 light cruisers, and 32 destroyers. A mix of Farragut and Gleaves class destroyers. He's going to be strike forcing as well. On to the patrol task forces. These are going to be on engage at low risk, which I need to change for my carrier groups. I need them to always engage. So we're going to set all the carriers to always engage. My patrol task forces will be on low engagement. Alright, so my patrol, I needed to set the automatic split, and this is under Admiral Spruance. And we could take a look at how I've composed my patrol fleets. I want them all to be this way with 1 heavy cruiser, 1 Atlanta class. Let me just untick this so it stops notifying me. And I'm going to go ahead and do this research real quick. Need to catch up on my artillery. And back to the patrol task forces. So a heavy cruiser, Atlanta class cruiser, St. Louis class cruisers if I can, and 7 destroyers. We're going to use the task force composition editor to save this and autofill it. Use the current composition, save it, hit OK. And now if I lose any ships, it will autofill them, and any compositions that aren't matching, it will change them for me using the reserve fleets. So if it has too many ships of one type, a destroyer or something, it will kick it out into the reserves, and then I can assign it to a carrier fleet. The United Kingdom has declared war on Iraq, and that is for oil. And they have joined the Axis powers. My rocket research is complete. I'm going to start on the newer subs. So I'm just going to click on each task force and make sure that I assign it the task force composition editor and hit OK. And this last task force wasn't even complete. So I'm going to go ahead and assign it, and it will autofill those ships that I don't have. Watch, you can see it changes there. So the key to that is going into production. First I need to get my artillery going, assign it some military factories. But when the war in the Pacific is going on, I won't have time to micro it so much, so I'm just going to set my subs to dump into the Pacific Fleet Reserve. All the production will go into the Pacific Fleets. My Atlanta class. So I've got my destroyers, my cruisers, and my subs. I'm going to do some more subs because I plan to lose a lot of them. And I'm going to set my subs up with the task force composition editor as well. I'm going to set it up for like 15, and I can change it later. So I'll just change this to 15, then save it. And this way everything that's being produced goes into the reserves, and then will autofill into the fleets, and I won't have to micro it. And this will be my sub-convoy rating task force. So you just name it, assign however many ships and what composition you want, click save and hit OK. And then you can assign it to similar task forces. I have an extra destroyer in this one, so I'm going to go ahead and just move that. I'm going to move it to my reserves. And I'm going to take a sub out of another task force to get this one to 10 ships. So I'll just drop down. So I made a mistake there. I did not save it properly. I did assign it here, but I didn't save the task force, so I need to just retype that out. Sub-convoy rating task force. Save it and hit OK. And now I'm going to assign it to all the rest of these. That way, as I produce the new subs, it will autofill these. And my game's paused, so it's not autofilling yet. I'm just going to go ahead and assign that one to that task force to make sure that one gets 10. And as you can see in the background, I'll be convoy rating throughout the green highlighted regions. I have my advanced mine warfare mine laying subs in the Philippine and South China Sea. They've been there for quite a while, since I started with the war in Europe. And I'm going to assign this destroyer to a carrier fleet. Just going to go ahead and send it to my first carrier fleet under Admiral King. And my patrol fleets, you can see where they're operating in the green. And my older subs are going to be operating back here towards Hawaii. So the newer subs up here, old ones back towards Hawaii, strike forcing in these regions right here. Halsey is going to be down here. And then my Atlantic fleet, I'm going to give access to all these sea zones. Alright, so I made the decision I'm not going to let Singapore fall. I'm going to go ahead and start deploying my air wings, taking them off their training mission and getting them into the South China and Philippine Sea. And I'm going to stop this video here. I'm going to upload this as my composition for my naval task forces in the Pacific. And then in the next video, I'm going to detail, probably more slowly, how those naval battles go out and emphasize on them. And I'll also make my push to knock out the Axis powers in the next video. So I apologize for that. I just didn't want an hour-long video.